We're about ready to get going. Music definitely makes us get going in the morning, don't it? It's nothing like some good tunes. Hey, welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo-O. Just want to give a shout out to the music that I use. It's a free music app, but you can't pay for a premium at, let me give you guys the name of this. It's called Upbeat. Very cool and cool website, Upbeat. So yeah, Upbeat, that's it. Upbeat. And that's where you get some of those tunes, some of those groovy tunes. And, check that out, right? It's pretty groovy and cool and all that. So anyway, let's get into the Morning Devo. This is Bo Willette. I'm your host. You could always check out the archives at the YouTube site, Bo Willette. And there you'll see a bunch of different devotions that I do and have done over the years. So you can check them out. We're in the book of Numbers right now. We're kind of moving our way through what's called the law, the first 5 books of the Bible. A lot of people don't get to them. But as we have seen, a lot of the New Testament has its roots in these first 5 books. That's right. And so a lot of the things that are going on that we're reading about, it kind of brings to light a little bit of like, oh, wow, I think that's something in the New Testament that I read. That's right. All these Jewish people in the New Testament, these are the books that they read. And this is what they were referring to, even in their writings in the New Testament. So pretty cool that we get to go through it. So the book of Numbers, we're in the chapter 30, and we're going to go through chapter 31, actually. So that's where we're going to be, 30 and 31. So you know what? Let's get the screen to reflect that, 30 and 31. And let's move in there. It's one of those weird passages, too, that might seem a little interesting to us. But, I love those passages. They're interesting, but hey, there's maybe some cool gems we could pull out of that and kind of learn something as we go through the Bible, right? Yeah, you never know. There might be some cool things that God has for us. So anyway, it says, chapter 30, it says, Moses said to the heads of the tribes of Israel, this is what the Lord commands. When a man makes a vow to the Lord or takes an oath to obligate himself by a pledge, I solemnly swear, he must not break the word, but must do everything he said. Whoa, pretty radical right there. Hey, is my word true? Gosh, what a good Devo, right? Is my word true? Like when I say something, is that really the truth of the matter? Notice that this places a really strong obligation for the person who makes the pledge, the oath, that they need to fulfill it. You can't just say, oh yeah, I'll be there, and you're not there. You can't just say, hey, I'm committed, and you're not committed. Nothing like that can happen. You have to actually go through with it. You have to walk through it, right? You got to be there. You got to do it, right? And here it says, now if this man makes it, and it's talking about a male here, it says when a male or man makes a vow to the Lord, right? If he breaks it, he's not to break it. Now it says when a young woman still living in her father's house So a young girl, right, 12 years old, I would imagine, something like that, makes a vow to the Lord or obligates herself by a pledge, and her father hears about her vow or pledge but says nothing to her, then all her vows and every pledge by which she obligated herself will stand. But if her father forbids her, when he hears about it, none of her vows or the pledges by which she obliged herself will stand. The Lord will release her because her father has forbidden her. Okay, so this is cool. And I find this to be pretty fascinating. And it makes me think, man, thank God for parents. That's what I first think. Hey, can we just thank God for some parents here? You know, how important are parents in our world, in our society, the way society is, the potential benefit to a child? How important are parents? Pretty important, right? I think statistic after statistic, article after article, year after year, the biggest issue when it comes to areas of poverty and violence has to do with usually male roles in the home. Is there a father figure? Is there a mother figure in the home? Is there a father in the house? Is there a mom in the house? Is there parents in the house? Loving parents in the home. Super important, right? If you devalue the parents, then maybe we got a huge problem going on in the society. Maybe it's only a matter of time before you have societal breakdown if you don't have good parents in the world. Parents are important. Here this young girl makes a pledge, makes a vow, says an oath, something like that. Lord, I pledge that I will blah, blah, blah. Well, if the father hears about it, he can say, hey, that doesn't stand. And the Lord's good with that. The Lord's, hey, you guys are remember, Israel is going to be living with the presence of the Lord in place right there. They're going to have to do things according to the Lord's will. God is right there in their midst at the tabernacle, the meeting of presence. We learned it was talked about in the book of Exodus, and meaning the presence of God and his holiness and his righteousness. And sin is not going to be tolerated, right? False words that come out of our mouths is not going to be tolerated. But here you see these wonderful acts of mercy, right? Young person says something that they probably shouldn't have said, right? They probably said, hey, I'm going to do this, and man, it's probably never going to be able to come true. But the father figures it out, and he says, hey, you know what? That's a really wrong oath to be saying, daughter, you know, and she can be released from that. So I thank God for the parents in my life. My mom taught me the Lord's Prayer when I was little. My mom actually brought me to church a couple times I could remember in my mind, and we certainly were a church-going family. But when things got super crazy, or when she knew she needed just to get back to some of her roots, you know, my mom did take us to a local church, meaning that was a place in her mind that was like a help. And that's awesome. You know, that's a cool parent, you know, to kind of go back and go, man, what is something that I could, you know, I could get fed right, and I could get some help, and my kids could get some help or something like that. And so my mom, man, that was awesome that she thought of a church, and she did that. She took us there. And like I said, we didn't stay in there or nothing like that, but we certainly at least got exposed. You know, I must say that. We did get exposed to something, you know, so that was cool. And I thank my mom for just the protection, and, you know, God, parents, think of your parents, right? Sometimes we only think of the bad in our parents. And there's no doubt that there's some rough parts there in our lives, and some people more than others. But I do see that here there is this wonderful provision for the parents to have, in a sense, a judgment call with their kids. over these oaths that they're making before the Lord. People just making these vows, these random vows to the Lord. And let's face it, we've all said things like that. I solemnly swear, by God, that I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. I swear by God. I swear by the name of God. And remember, when we're swearing by it, the name of God, man, that's like we're in the courtroom with God, and God's like our judge, we're saying God's my judge, Well, yeah, God is your judge. And in the book of Numbers, God's going to be living in the tent, in the tabernacle, in the middle of Israel, and he will be their judge. And God will judge according to righteousness. Can't compromise, he's God. God is God, there is no compromise with God, right? Lying, nope, none of that. And so when you claim the name of God in an oath, when you're swearing by God, God's paying attention, to that. And it's neat that the parents can say something. Now, it goes on, if she marries after she makes a vow or after her lips utter a rash promise by which she obligates herself, and her husband hears about it but says nothing to her, then her vows or the pledges by which she has obligated herself will stand. But if her husband forbids her when he hears about it, he nullifies the vow that obligates her or the rash promise by which she obligates herself, and the Lord will release her. Again, there's that idea of a husband being able to say, hey, honey, that's not a good vow. And so there's some, in a sense, there's some quality control going on with the oaths and the vows, right? A little bit of control going on, quality control. Not good. Let's not go that direction, right? Remember, a lot of people married young back then too. So I imagine that, you have that 13, you have that 15, 14-year-old girl making a vow. And it's good that her husband can, in a sense, say, hey, that's not the best vow, honey. And she could be released from it. Any vow or obligation taken by a widow or divorced woman will be binding on her. So if you're a widow or you're divorced and you're making a vow unto the Lord, then you got to stick to that vow. So we got to stick to what we say. If a woman living, and by the way, if we do that, if we think about it that way, then we really have to think about what we say before we say it, don't we? Before we give any kind of promise or any kind of oath. Oh yeah, I'll call you tomorrow. Oh yeah, we'll have to do lunch. Yeah, we'll do lunch next week. Whatever it is, we might be a little more cautious with that and say, hey, if I get some time, I'll give you a buzz. Or you know what, if some time opens up, maybe we can go to lunch or something like that. Maybe we would speak a little different instead of so kind of flippantly. So if a woman living with her husband makes a vow or obligates herself by a pledge under oath, and her husband hears about it and says nothing to her and does not forbid her, then you guys get the point now, right? She's obligated to hold on to this. But if her husband can nullify it if he hears about it. And so we kind of go through that. That husband has that opportunity. And so it says, these are the regulations the Lord gave Moses concerning relationships between a man and his wife and between a father and his young daughter still living in the house. And so vows. Yeah, interesting, right? So the words of Jesus is about vows. Do you remember Jesus talking about that? Hey, let's not get into oaths, Jesus said. Let's just let your yes be yes and your no be no. Because oaths became super complex in Judaism. They became something, as you can see, you can get real complex with them about the laws pertaining to oaths. And the words of Jesus just really avoided a lot of these complications by just saying, hey, let your yes be yes and your no be no. But it really makes me think of how I talk, and what I say, and the promises I make, and do I keep them? And those are something that, to be, I guess, a person of integrity, we would have to be a person who definitely keeps our word. That would definitely probably rank up there as one of the things that is a mark of someone who is full of integrity, right? And so that's what we want to do this morning, is just maybe work on some of that today. Hey, how am I talking? Am I saying promises or oaths? Am I able to keep those promises? So chapter 31 says, the Lord said to Moses, take vengeance on the Midianites. Now remember, they're going to conquer the land. Finally, this generation's going to go in, but it's not going to be without its problems. And so us human folk, we kind of have our issues, don't we? Paula says, I'm so blessed having a husband who took our vows seriously, especially in sickness and in health. Oh, man, so true. That's a great point, Paula. You know, the idea of just keeping your marital vow, right? Oh, man, dude, that's beautiful. And I have met your husband, and he's a super cool guy. And, man, I can't think of a better compliment than that one on him. It's just that he keeps that vow. Yeah. So that's awesome. So it says, go and after the Midianites. Remember, the Midianites were descendants of Ishmael. There's Abraham. Abraham had 2 kids, 2 sons anyway, Ishmael and Isaac, 2 sons that are, let's say, spoken of pretty highly, right? Isaac and Ishmael. And Ishmael, the Midianites come through his line. Okay, so Midian was a descendant of his father Ishmael. And so the Lord says, take vengeance on the Midianites for the Israelites, that after you will be gathered to your people. Now the Midianites were obviously part of some of the downfall of Israel. The Midianites were the ones who also, if you remember, Jacob was sold as a slave by his brothers back in Genesis. And anyway, the Midianites had a part in buying him, and the Midianites have this thread of kind of going against Israel. And so it's time for, in a sense, judgment. They're going to go into the land, and Midianites are going to go to war with the Midianites. So Moses said to the people, arm some of your men and go to war against them. So they arm actually 1,000 from each of the tribes. Remember, there's 12 tribes. So we get to this, and it says, verse 5, so 12,000 men armed for battle. And then it says, and then the trumpets are going to be, they're going to blow some trumpets. Remember, remember that thing early on in the book of Numbers where the trumpets sound and then they start organizing the army? And so we see that that's kind of taking place. It says they fought against Midian as the Lord commanded Moses and killed every man among their victims were, and it lists the people. Again, the Bible's really detailed. And it says these 5 kings of Midian were killed. They also killed Balaam, son of Beor. Remember that prophet for hire a few chapters back, right? That was hired by this guy Balak to put a curse on Israel. And Balaam couldn't curse Israel, but Balaam did say, hey, the way to get to Israel is through their hearts, through their relationship. Send all your women, and those women will get them into idolatry. And that's what Balaam did. So Balaam lost his life in the war as well, with the sword, the idea of at war, right? And Israelites captured the Midianite women and children and took all the Midianite herds, flocks, goods, and plunder. They burned all the towns where the Midianites had settled, as well as their camps. They took all the plunder and spoils, including the people and animals, and brought the captive spoil and plunder to Moses and Eleazar the priest and the Israelite assembly at the camp on the plains of Moab, by the Jordan across from Jericho. So, man, they are right there on the promised land, right there. The war, battles have started. The pot has been stirred up, right? And they're going to be like the Lord's army, right? God says, I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to go before you. And don't worry about these people. You go. And Israel at times has tried to make peace and say, hey, we're just going to go in. You guys cool with that? And they're like, no, we're going to war. And so Israel has now, in a sense, put on the armor, and they're going. Moses, Eleazar, the priest. Notice the leadership of Israel, even at times of war. It's Moses, who's a Levite, Remember, that's more of a those that worked in the temple, in the tabernacle. And you have Moses and you have Eleazar, actually a descendant of Aaron, another in a Levite, but now a high priest family. And so you have the priest and the leader, Moses, at the helm. And wouldn't that be interesting? You know, it's kind of a really trippy, huh? You have that kind of religious figure as being one of the heads. We might not understand that too much in this country, but other countries, that's really big. I remember, I don't know if you've ever watched like soccer. Like sometimes like you'll watch soccer in the Middle East and, you know, I'll see like a picture of like the Ayatollah or something, like a giant picture, you know, of their religious figure, you know, a guy. And you'll be like, whoa, that's a huge picture. But it's at the actual sporting event, you know, that picture. So everybody knows, hey, that's the spiritual leader of the country or something, you know. And but here you have a little bit of that in the sense that Eleazar, the priest, is right there. You know, listening, hearing from God, you know, and remember, Numbers is a book of accountability, right? We're all accountable with God. Numbers, numbering the people, accountable to God, you know, and this whole book's about that. I could have started the whole book just talking about accountability, an accounting, right? Numbers, think of it, the book of Numbers, accounting. I think you're getting it, right? The idea that we are accountable to God. And so the priest represents that kind of accountability with the Lord. So very cool. By the way, my hair is going a little aggro this morning. So, and then we see the problems happening already. They haven't dealt with the women properly. The women that were involved in the whole issue with Balaam and Balak and Israel that brought the Israelites down. They kept them ladies alive, and they didn't in the wartime. They did not kill them, and so so instructions are given to them that, hey, you need to take care of these people. They deserve judgment, And so it says in verse 19, all of you who have killed anyone or touched anyone who is killed must stay outside the camp 7 days. So remember, if you touch a dead body or anything like that. So there's all these regulations. You got the priest there who's like regulating things. Okay, you went to war. Okay, you did this. Okay, hey, did you guys judge these people? These people needed to be judged. They were your downfall. They are the things that crept into your life. Those are the things that, you know, you allowed to seep in, and now it's something that's hurting you. You know, you gotta judge that. You gotta judge that thing. And that's so true, right? I mean, in a spiritual sense, that's super true, right? But it is in a physical sense as well. But just think of the spiritual implications. There's things that can cause you mental trial and different difficulties. And instead of judging those things, we instead become friends to those things. We buddy up to those things. And those things we buddy up to really get us, right? So, man, really a neat spiritual application there. Hey, am I butting up to something I need to really judge instead? You know, kind of thing. So the rest of the chapter is about dividing the spoils, actually. They divide the spoils between the... it's kind of interesting in that those that fought, if I remember, they get portions, the priests get portions. So, it says the soldiers that took part in the battle get a part. The rest of the community then gets a part. So it talks about the soldiers who fought in the battle. So those who are on the front lines, man, they get some of that tribute, right? And then you set apart some for the Lord. Well, the tribute would go to the Lord, right? And so it goes over it, and it gives a breakdown. It's really neat. It gives a breakdown. The half, verse 36, the half of those who fought in the battle was 3,337,500 sheep, of which the tribute for the Lord was 675. 36,000 cattle, of which the tribute for the Lord was 72. 30,500 donkeys. The tribute was 61. So you see, there's the Lord gets a certain portion. A certain portion would go to the tabernacle and be a part of the Levites in their world. Though remember, the Levites didn't have land. They were functioning as priests for the other tribes in the land. And so they worked the tabernacle. They were the instead of government workers, they were the priestly workers, And so they were on the priestly dime, so to speak. And so they got some of this as well. And Moses gave a tribute to Eleazar, the priest, as the Lord's part, as the Lord commanded Moses. So it's interesting, right? You divided the spoils between the soldiers who took part in the battle and the rest of the community. From the soldiers who fought in the battle, set apart, and some were set apart. So it's very cool how this, I think, breaks down. I get kind of the idea that the New Testament says this: the hardworking farmers first to partake of the crop. And the idea is that when you're in the battle, you get the first to really partake, of the fruit. If you're the farmer, you're the first to see the crops come in. You're the first to partake of it, to taste it, to see, and then they're sure everybody's going to be blessed by it, and this is what I love is like, when we serve God and we're out there, sharing the gospel and wanting to help people understand the gospel, wanting to be a light to the world, we are the first to we get to receive the first fruits, our actions, of what we're doing. We get to be the first to really see what is happening, and that's awesome. We're doing it. We get to see it. If you want to see something radical, you go do it. You go on a missions trip. You go do an outreach. You go to your local neighborhood. You start sharing. You're going to be the first to partake of the crop. You're the soldier who's going to war, But what's great is everybody around you, all your friends, they're going to benefit from the work of God in your heart. They're going to receive of that fruit as well as you're blessed by your service unto the Lord. And that's really what I see in that whole dividing the spoils things is, the soldiers get a part of it. Of course they do, man. They're right there in the midst. And they're the ones that are certainly hardworking. But there's so many other people that benefit from your hard work and from your labor. And that's a beautiful thing. They get to partake of that. You're the first, certainly so. You're the first to partake of the crop. And that's 2 Timothy chapter 2, I think it is. 2 Timothy chapter 2, where it says hardworking farmers first to partake of the crop. Pretty sure it's somewhere in there. 2 Timothy 2, 3, somewhere in there. But here you see kind of this happening in a real numbers way, right? No pun intended, but a real book of numbers way in this book. So it's a book of accountability. Even accountability at war, and even in war, there's laws according to the rules of engagement, so to speak. And so nothing's really helter-skelter with the Lord. There's always organization and accountability. That's why you got the priest hanging out with Moses, right? And with the army is the priest. So pretty interesting. But I find it very cool, man. I need my high priest with me at all times. And this morning, I want to make sure I bring my high priest with me into any battle, and that's Jesus. So you guys take care. Have a good one. Thanks so much for listening. Mike, I hope you're doing well, brother. You take care, okay? Or it might be Debbie, but it might be Mike. I don't know. So Paula, you have a good one too. You guys have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.